I'm Kathy from Eclectic Images and welcome to Crafting with Kathy. In today's clip, we're going to be creating some watercolour effects using the Pentel colour brush markers. So this is just the colours I've chosen for this one. These are a water-based ink in a marker. The tip is a brush tip, which is nice and flexible, giving you real ease with applying the ink, whether you're actually doing brush lettering or whether you're applying it to a stamp or just doing colouring in a background. Fabulous fun, and they create some great watercolour effects. So we're going to use them by putting them onto our stamps and then stamping onto our paper. The stamps we're going to use are the Eclectic Images Butterfly and the smaller version, Butterfly Small, and our beautiful large Cherish, script Cherish. So let's get started. Okay, so I've chosen some colours that'll go together. So we're going to go from yellow, orange into, I think we'll go then red, then brown. Okay, now I'm going to colour directly onto my stamp. The effect I'm wanting to get is of colour bursting out of our image. So we're only using the colouring on the stamp as a bit of a guide to where the colour's going to explode from, because we're actually then going to overstamp it with a black ink. So we'll see the fully stamped image of the butterfly, but I want to get some explosions of colour happening. So let's imagine we're working from maybe the colour spectrum that we're using across our card, which means the butterfly will mainly be the middle two colours. And when you're applying the colour to the stamp, just wipe it on. Don't scrunch the bristles of the brush, just keep wiping. And we'll put some orange on the lower half. We don't have to blend it with the red, with the effect that we're getting, because we're going to be spritzing it with water and then stamping it onto a wet card. So we don't have to do any pre-blending. We're just looking at trying to get some colour smushing out of this. It's a good word, isn't it? Smushing. Let's see how we go. So I'm going to spritz. I've got my bit of cotton blend cardstock here. I'm just working on the 210 GSM for this one because I'm not going to be absolutely soaking it, but we will give it a bit of a spritz on the back, which helps to stop it curling too much. Then we're going to give it a spritz on the front. Now I'll spritz my stamp, and it's good to, for this effect, good to have quite a bit of water on it, and we'll stamp it on. Let it be nice and smushy. And then we're actually going to use a straw or a puffer tool to actually blow some of that ink out. Some of it's already bleeding out for us, but let's get some more. Or we can use our puffer tool, which I really like using. Get that ink happening away from our design. Some little cross foofs, get some little spidery bits happening. Excellent. Now we'll use our smaller butterfly, and we're going to do him in just the yellow. Oh no, now I'm reversing. Oh yeah, I'll do him in yellow. So my order of pens should be probably him in a bit of brown, but let's just do him in yellow with maybe a hint of red just on the lower part. If you're going to be putting two colours onto your stamp, always put the lightest colour on first and then the darker one so you don't contaminate. Although if you do pick up colour onto your brush from another colour, you can just wipe it out on a bit of scrap paper until it comes out clean. Okay, let's spritz our little butterfly as well. Stamp him on. And again, give him a foof. Now this one I'm just going to foof it straight down and just let that take off. Now I think I'd like a little bit more bleeding of these inks happening, and I'm going to try and achieve that by actually, instead of spraying more water on, I'm going to spray on a metallic spray. So this is the Perfect Pearls Sunflower Sparkle mixed with water. So let's just get that happening and get a little bit more, that's it, a bit more bleeding happening, which will also give our work a lovely metallic sheen. Now we're just going to grab some paper towel and just towel that off a bit, which will help it dry a bit quicker. And then we're going to need to go over it with our heat gun to get that nice and dry. I'm just cleaning up my work surface where I've oversprayed everywhere. Okay, so it doesn't look much like a butterfly now, but that's okay Matthew's smiling, my cameraman, because yeah, this one's a bit carried away. It does not look like a butterfly at all. Let's give it a dry and then see what we can add to it. This is one of those ones where I actually probably should have prepared one earlier that was already dry, but never mind, we'll keep going. Let's see if we can get this dry enough to be able to work with it a bit more. That's better. Now we're flattening back down. Excellent. Now we're going to stamp the Cherish with these brush markers as well. So we're actually going to ink up the whole word with a selection, the same selection of colours, but with a graduation of colours going through. So I'm just going to start popping it. We'll start with our yellow, popping it on the letter, and a little bit further than where I want it. In fact, I can probably leave those lids off while I'm actually working with it. So that then when we put our orange on, it'll come back and meet with the yellow and blend with it. Start the next letter in the orange and go into our red. Into the brown. Now I'm just going to be a little bit careful because I don't want to go from brown to yellow. I'm going to put the yellow here and then blend the brown into that, rather than touching the yellow to where I already had put brown. I hope that makes sense. What do we do next? Orange. Pick up a bit of red. It's a strange sort of way of inking because you really can't quite see what you're doing, but it does come up really well. A little bit of brown just on the end of that. Now it's not going to be as sharp an image as if I'd inked with, if I'd inked it up with inks, but that's not what we're looking for. We're looking for more smooshy effects, but I don't want it too smooshy. So I'm going to hold my mist up fairly high and just give it a light mist just to help those colours to blend in together. And then let's stamp it on. You get these letters just blending into each other. Now because we're going to stamp our images in black, this becomes part of our background. So let's now get our butterflies back again. I'm going to have to give them a little bit of a clean because they're all wet as well as covered in markers. So I'll just give those a bit of a wipe and a little one as well. I'm going to be doing my inking up with just the black Versamark ink. You could use any of the did I say Versamark? I meant Versafine. You could be using any of the Versafine colours would work. Your Versamagic chalk inks to stamp with would work fine. Just popping my lids back on. Do be careful when you're putting lids back on these pens. Do be careful not to get the bristles of the brush caught on the lids. Just make sure you pop them on carefully because you don't want to damage that lovely fine tip that the brush has. Okay, now we're going to ink up with our Versafine Onyx Black. Making sure I get right to the edges of the butterfly there. Now I don't have to line it up with the background, I'm just getting it in the area that we did. In fact, if there's a little bit of colour, of shape of butterfly showing in the colours, that's going to look extra good. Okay, now we're going to get our smaller one. So this time I will take my stamp to my ink pad, but I still just tap. I don't ever press. Now stamp him in here. Press down nice and firmly. Excellent. I'm not quite happy with my inking on there, so I'm going to try and be clever and stamp over the top of it. If I had my stamping platform near me, or my Misty, I would use that, but I haven't got them on the table at the moment, so I'm just going to have to try and line this up and see how we go. And hope and being a Versafine, being a pigment ink, I'm just going to hold it in place there for a moment. Let that ink really contact with the card. And I've now got it darker. I'm a little bit off in spots, but at least it's nice and dark. So it's standing out from those colours. Right. If we wanted to, we could stamp that. If we wanted the Cherish to stand out more, we could actually stamp that with the black as well, but offset it so you still see the colours. I'm liking it though just in the background, which is what I'm planned for this card. But what I'm going to do is just pick up, see, because where the colours have been watered down, we've lost a bit of the intensity of the red, so it's not matching so well with our colours in our word. So what I'm going to do is now come in and actually add some direct colour onto our image with our brush pens, and we will start with some brown down the bottom of this butterfly. Now I don't want to lose all of the lovely soft colour, so I'm just going to pick some areas just to add a little bit more. And of course, because our Versafine dries to a waterproof finish, it's not going to bleed as we're putting on these other colours. I will grab my Aquawash water brush. Let me just give that a squeeze just to get some water running through it. And I'll use that just to make these colours blend into my background colours. So let's add some more brown along there, and then just use the water brush just to tease it and soften it a bit. So this will tie in beautifully then with the colours from the stamped word. Let's just tease that brown. Okay, popping the lid on carefully, I'm going to come around with the red. Tease it out a little bit. So you can see how easily these colours dissolve and blend. It makes them so versatile with what you can do with them. And in our small butterfly, we'll start off with our orange. Just applying a little bit of colour. I don't mind how smudgy it is on the inside of the butterfly, but I am being careful that I don't go outside the edges because we've already got our soft colour out there. We're wanting this to really be within the butterfly. Now let's add some stronger yellow up the top there. Just go over that with a water brush, and I'm blending it into the orange. So that makes our butterflies really pop by adding that extra colour. But you know what? I think we need some orange in the bottom butterfly. I'm not liking just the brown and the red, so let's come into this centre area. And add some of the bright orange on both sides. Again, just come in with a water brush. Blend it into the brown a bit, into the red a bit. That's better. He just needed that bit more brightness. Excellent. I think what also might look nice with the brown, we're going to add a little bit of shadow to one side. So let's come in along this edge here. Just tease out a little bit of a shadow. That'll also make him pop. Now if I'm doing it on that side, I'll need to do it on this side of this wing. So I'm imagining I've got a light source up this side, and so my shadows are going to be on the other side to that. It's really bringing him out well. Now I just want to add a little bit of shading around the edge of the card, so I'm going to bring my scrap paper pad in. And I'm going to do this in the Versafine black as well, because I want it to I don't want to add any more colour to the colour that's going on there. So we'll just grab my round brush, a bit of black ink, and we're just going to smudge over the edge of that card a bit. To me, without it being edged, it just looks a bit unfinished. You can see I'm really putting most of the colour is going on the notepad. I'm not putting much on the card. Once I've got not as much colour on my brush though, I can start coming up into the card a bit if I want to. And this is where sometimes going back to just doing some circles can be good, just to get the ink on softly. Not that there's that much that's soft about using black ink, but what I'm hoping is it's going to really bring that centre part out. So I'm liking that the Cherish word is just fading into the background a bit, but as I said, let's have a go at stamping it with the black, offsetting it, just to see another. So you've seen how that one looks like that without it being coloured. Oh, sorry, with it just being the colour. Now let's do it with the black. See if we like it. We might hate it, but let's see how we go. So I'm going to actually deliberately put it not lined up exactly. So that we still see our colours, but we've got our words. Yeah, I think I like it better. It's not what my plan was, but I am liking it. The last thing that we just need to do to this middle butterfly is add some glossy accents or some glitter to it. And I'm just going to go with the glossy accents. And just really bring those wings out. Because it's going to look a little bit cloudy to start with until that dries, but as it dries, that shine will just make that butterfly pop. So that's just an easy watercolouring technique. So just to be able to put the brush markers directly on your stamp, and then by putting the water on, you're creating your background effect without having to actually pay attention to deliberately trying to place colour. Because sometimes it can be hard with watercolours to know where to put them to get lovely background effects. So this is just one way of actually taking that, I guess it's taking the fear out of doing it. You just put it on, blow it around and see what happens. It makes watercolouring a bit less scary. So it's a great way of starting off with things. The other thing that we could do is we could actually, I just splattered that out in all directions. I could have splattered it just in a couple of directions, and so made my colour go up the centre of the card on a diagonal or straight up the centre. We could have done a different array of colours, of course. There's I think 18 colours in the range, so you can do lots of different colour combinations. But I really like that. I think that centre butterfly is just coming out fantastically. Just that glossy accents is really going to make those colours brilliant. So that's just something to have a bit of a try of. And you'll see some samples posted up on our Facebook page where we've done that with the camel stamp and the emu stamp. So yeah, it can be a lot of fun. All right, I hope you give it a go, and we'll catch you on the next clip where we'll be doing some more crafting with Kathy. Okay, thanks. Bye.